So it really is a great pleasure to be here and to see so many old friends again, or, longtime friends. So, as I was sitting here, something occurred to me. I've been doing open space stuff for almost exactly 20 years because I remember I was looking idle one day when I was in the governor's office, and at that moment I was doing criminal justice policy in the governor's office, and I must have looked idle because the chief of staff in the governor's office said, "What are you doing?" I paused for a moment, and they said, "There's a bill, it's called the Arizona Preserve Initiative, over in the legislature, and it's about to die. You need to go save it." And that was the beginning, and it was because I appeared idle. And my life has never been the same since. And I think it was really the luckiest moment of my life to get assigned to work on the API. And 20 years seems like a long time until I look at Maxine, and I don't know how many years you've been working on it. And then I think of our friend Ruth Hamilton and others who are really pioneers in this community on the preservation and conservation of open space, and PA Seats and others. I mean, we just have a really rich history. Barry Goldwater, we have a really rich history in this community of caring about open space, and we're lucky for that. So now after 20 years, I've gone from pretty much devoting all my days to thinking about what's outside to thinking about what's inside. Because a lot of my job now is thinking about the design of arenas. And it's really interesting. It really is. I work at U.S. Airways Center. I call it the biosphere because I feel like you go in and like you never come out, except sometimes we get to come out to go to what I call the lunchroom, which is actually the arrogant butcher across the street. I just call it the biosphere and the lunchroom, and that's it. But it's important to the work that we do that we have a good arena. But it's been interesting. So a couple weeks ago, I went on a little road trip, and I went to Orlando and I went to Brooklyn to look at their arenas. And the truth is, except for the very dedicated observers of such things, I mean, if they dropped you in one of these arenas, to most of us, without the logos, you wouldn't necessarily know if you were in Phoenix or you were in Orlando or you were in Brooklyn. They're relatively similar. When it gets different is the minute that you step outside of these places. That's when everything changes. The arenas, the built environment there's a lot of sameness to it, and it's temporary. And no knock on it. I mean, we all live in places, we work in places. This is a built place and quite spectacular. So it's not a knock on it. It's just really different to focus on the inside than it is to do what you all do, which is to focus on the outside. And that's what's really special. And the thing is that, and this has been said by so many people, that what is outside cannot be what's left over. I mean, it really has to be intentional. And that's why I admire so much the people in this room and all the work that they've put into intentionally making this a great place by what has been saved, and the forethought that's gone into making sure these special places are saved. And it must be grand. And I actually think, there's all this conversation about competing in the global economy. And I will tell you, and I'm sure most of you have encountered it too, that but for a few professions, I mean, the economy really is global, and it really is. It used to be, you'd come up and you'd talk about your laptops. Well, now you're talking about your watches and your glasses. I mean, it's not even a laptop. That's like Clunkersville now, It's like your watch. That's what you need. That's what you need to do your job well. I mean, it's an entirely different environment, and you really want to know how you compete in a global environment. It's by having a distinctive and a magnificent place to be in. That is what matters. That's what's going to matter, and it's going to matter more going into the future even than it has in the past. And the intentionality of what we've done in this community is amazing, and it's going to serve us well, and it's going to make us competitive into the future. And so I admire all of you. And I think after a long time of thinking about all these, sayings that you hear that come and go, I think the one that makes the most sense to me and that I've found to be the most true is the one that says, the world is run by those who show up. And so the fact that you are here today lets me know that it's in good hands. The world's in good hands because you're here tonight doing this. So thank you for being here, because if you're not busy, raise your hand. If anybody can say, I'm really not busy. We're all super busy. We all have other things we could have done tonight, but you're here doing this, and that speaks volumes. And that's and for people like Maxine and for people like our friend Ruth Hamilton and others, that's how you have confidence that things are going to be okay into the future. And the work that, all these folks with the land trust, all of you that are community activists and volunteers, that's what it's all about. The world is run by those who show up, and the people that believe in this open space conservation show up. And they show up in droves. God knows, when I was land commissioner, frightening numbers sometimes. But I was grateful for it. We sold more open space than ever before at the land department. So, I just hope that, recognizing this, this whole dichotomy between what's in the economic best interest and what's in the, environmental best interest. I think we've come so far, at least in the last 20 years, of not seeing those as, as competing interests and having this great divide. I think one of the great triumphs that we've had in our community is that we've come together and we've realized, well, these are not competing interests. These are very much interrelated, interconnected interests that don't really exist without each other. And the intentionality of keeping those things consolidated and thought of as a functioning whole. So I would just say that continuing to do the things that have already been started. When RJ showed that the Maricopa Regional Trail, how fantastic is that? Remember when there was just like a few things on the map, and it was before anybody could even dream of that these things would be connected. And where's Jan Hancock? She was here earlier. Are you still here, Jan? Oh, there she is, the Arizona Trail. Seriously, let's give a hand to these people who... That is grand. These are grand things that have been done. And I know in some way, I bet each of you in this room has participated in the creation and conservation and funding and maintenance and support, the political support that it takes to make all these things happen. And I just hope that we not only continue to do that, that we cultivate that interest in future generations, because when we go from the clunkiness of having a watch or Google Glasses and we just go ahead and have the brain chip, which I'm looking forward to because then we don't have to have passwords anymore. I would be the first if somebody said, you can have a microchip in your brain, and I would say, so no more passwords, and if they said yes, I'd go, I'm in. Put it in now. I am tired of passwords. But when we go to that day, what is going to make us competitive? What is going to make us great? What is going to make us continue to feel like we're really at home in the most majestic place on the face of the earth is that we have done this. We had a grand vision, and we have seen it. We haven't seen it through to completion because it's never complete, because there's always something that needs to be done. But we've made great strides. So I just am here really to pay tribute to all of you and the role that each of you plays, and some of it is huge, like RJ managing this complex system of parks, and Sue's new job back there, the state park system, and Jan, the Arizona Trail, and some of us, and buffalo grass. My gosh, that was shocking to me to see the buffalo grass on the, what is it? Shaw Butte, thank you. I hike it all the time. I'm like, okay, help me, not North Mountain. But it's pretty amazing what each of you does. And so I guess I'm really just here to say thank you. So that's it for me. Thanks.